Don Ford. This is Brace for Impact, brought to you by Organize for Better Tomorrow. I got the whole crew here. We are hopefully going to have a stable connection and give you guys a little bit of rundown of all the things going on. Because there's a lot of just... It's hard to, like, you want to be, like, upbeat and sort of positive, try to give people something to, like, laugh about, because you really need something to laugh about right now. But it's a lot of not funny stuff. A lot of serious stuff going on. So, but on the upside, we decided to lead the show off today with a section we're calling Trump's Retreat, which I think is what Iran called it, actually. That Trump has backed down from his Strait of Hormuz threat. He was like, in 2 days, I'm going to rain hell. And then oil markets collapsed, and he was like, oh, just kidding.
Never mind.
No, yeah, never mind. And that's
this is the taco we can believe in.
Yeah. It's man, I don't. What does taco stand for again? Something threats.
Trump always chickens out.
Trump
right.
Always chickens out. All right, Jess, you can talk a little bit louder. By the way, I think for some reason you're coming a little.
There we go.
Just letting you know. It's Trump always chickens out. Yeah, I mean, it's tough to say that after he kills the Ayatollah, but it does seem like they just have no clue what they're doing right now, just across the board. It seems like it feels like, they keep talking about Iran's leadership got taken out, and they're like, these MAGA chuds keep showing up in chat rooms or like feeds or whatever, saying stuff like, I just don't understand, like, we killed their leadership, why are they still fighting? And you're like, because they have more leadership. They killed the senior leadership. And like, okay, well then they have junior leadership. Like, and they tend to be more hardlined, believe it or not. So that's the thing that I think a lot of people kind of forget about. The older people are like keeping everything cool. It's the younger people that are like, hey, I want, and then you put those people in charge, and apparently they didn't expect literally everything in the region to get bombed. So, but watching Trump cower on this, I don't know. It's kind of cheered me up a little bit. We'll see what happens in 5 days, but I'm gonna be real. It is between that and the RFK stuff. I feel like I'm like, is this winning? Is this, because I still feel like we're losing, but that feels like it's starting to sound a little more like a W. If you don't know, RFK Jr.'s after a long illegitimate campaign run by our very own Jesse, campaign of illegitimacy. A judge actually ruled that RFK's stuff was illegitimate. How does it feel to be legally right, by the way? Does that still feel good?
Vindicated.
Yeah. Now, we were all on the illegitimacy, but every time we would talk about ACIP, and I'm more of a, deal with what we have. We could try to change it. We still got to make the most, assume things aren't going to change, but also try to change them at the same time. So we have these conversations about what we would do about ACIP. And then every time Jesse would come on, he'd be like, I just want to preface that they're illegitimate and we shouldn't have to do this at all. But here's the plan. And I feel like that really came out to be just like so true. And the actual people say, oh, well, nothing stops these guys. They're doing whatever they want, which, I mean, okay, I can't really totally fight you on that. But the CDC recommendations that were made by the illegitimate ACIP have been removed. And there's talk that the ACIP might be completely, like, to all new members again, which they really need to get their old members back. But I feel like it's such a niche subject. People are, and do they even want to come back and with this, HHS director? I mean, I could see them not.
Yeah, a lot of them were quitting before all this.
Yeah, I can see them not wanting to come back. So those are kind of like Trump's big retreat where he just really, like, I mean, I think historians are going to look back at Trump's just getting his just absolute ass handed to America as like one of the greatest. I think that this war is going to be one of the greatest military defeats for America in history. Like, I think that it has the stance because we lost trillions of dollars, our entire foothold in the region. All of our missile defense is gone. Everything's just getting hit. There's no protection on anything, and they did it in like a week.
Mm-hmm. Truthfully, have we really won a war since like World War II or something like that? Like,
no, I don't think we have.
Iraq.
So, we didn't win Vietnam. Korea was technically never a war, and we didn't really win that either. No, we haven't.
Well,
Oh no,
Iraq.
was it Grenada, and well, what about Iraq? I don't know about Iraq.
Yeah, Iraq was technically a war because he actually got congressional approval to do it, and both times we came into Iraq, we like clowned them really hard, like both times,
But-
and then it became a quagmire because we don't know how to
Right.
run other countries. But as far as
'Cause-
like the war part of it goes, but Afghanistan, it's just an absolute like
It was another Middle
Disaster.
Eastern country that we should have never been there in the first place. In Iraq, that is.
Yeah, I know we never should. Right, it's still an illegitimate war, right? Is that
That's
what-
right. Yeah. Doesn't anybody care about the rules?
Yeah. No,
That's mine.
Yeah. No, apparently they do not. But I do think that this is going to be viewed as like one of the greatest military blunders of all time. Like I have a feeling that this war is going to define Trump's presidency historically more than most of the stuff that's happened. I think it's somewhere between ICE terrorizing people, the trying to take away rights with Supreme Court, and then the war, because we are like a war-driven country historically. So like, it's very hard to spin what is happening right now as like somehow a win for us. Like, how do you find a W out of this mess? I don't see it.
We had an unprecedented deal on the table, and he went and just started this anyway.
Yeah, and Iran came out and said that they won't. No negotiations on the table because they tried to use peace negotiations last time and then killed those people. And he's like, we're not going to do that again. Which,
Yeah.
I mean,
It's perfidy. It was a trick
right.
twice.
Oh, that's by the way, when you're trying to surrender or make like it's an illegal
For
use.
the United States status in the world, honestly.
Yeah. Oh, right now, absolutely. Right now, I mean, with the Secretary of Idiot Pete Hegseth, I mean, God, we should call him like the Secretary of Nazi frat boys. Like, I can't even believe that guy's in charge of anything. And
Yeah.
he's such a doofus, and but the way he's talking about killing people and using our weapons, our defensive weapons, as aggressive weapons, and that's the whole point. It's like defense is something that a country needs for whatever reason. You can argue against war, you can argue, but defense is a thing that is needed, right? You need to be able to defend yourself. But like when weapons of defense get turned into weapons of aggression, is when it's like really matters who's in charge and who's in control, and anyone that puts Pete Hegseth in control of anything needs. The only thing we've gotten good out of Pete Hegseth is that impersonation on Saturday Night Live that the guy is doing.
Colin Jost is pretty good.
Yeah, it's his impersonation, and it's actually gets a little better every week. Like, I gotta give it to him. I know some people are anti SNL, but like there's just been the only, and that's how I really know, like deep down, where like they're trying to do fascism, but they're like doing like college fascism because that is allowed to exist. Like Colin Jost's impression of Pete Hegseth is allowed to exist. If we were in like true fascism, that would not be allowed to exist.
I still haven't seen that SNL thing, but like, isn't it weird? Like Trump literally just cast Pete Hegseth off of Fox News. Like he just probably saw that guy on Fox and was like, "Yeah, this guy would look good as a Secretary of Defense."
Well, he's saying what he
Yeah,
wants. You know, Trump's like, that's what I want someone saying. So yeah, I mean, I think that like that's a real reflection of who Trump is, because he like. He hired Kristi Noem because he liked that she shot her dog.
Wow.
That was as an actual. Oh, I heard she killed her dog. That made her. She's my kind of person. And you're like, whoa. Let's rewind that tape for a minute, right?
Yeah.
Sorry. Sir?
But this war it really could change a lot of things. I mean,
it already is. I mean,
yeah.
We're having unprecedented weather. I think the big story that's really getting left on the table is, I think we talked about it last time, or I've been talking about it, but there was an actual article that came out. What was it? 55 mil. How many tons of carbon did they say? Donna, I'm gonna force you to talk and be like, what was the actual number on it? We'll get to that in a second. But it's like the amount of greenhouse emissions and gases from bombs, like the amount of bombs that are being dropped everywhere. Like, this is unprecedented in history to have this many of these things, that each one of those is like just greenhouse gases, like really bad. Like, it's making the planet hotter, and we're now having unprecedented heat waves, like the hottest March on record. Like, we literally the hottest day ever.
Yeah.
5 million tons.
5 million tons of carbon emissions from this. So, and
Just
it's
what we
all
don't need.
no, and just straight up pollutants, like straight up pollutants, just to the whole planet. And so you're dropping these things all over. Because I felt like during which, I mean, there have been less bombs dropped in Gaza only because there's nothing left to drop bombs on. They're still doing it though, but I felt like we could feel the weather change just from the amount of bombs being dropped there, because we live on a planet that shares, like, you can see the clouds in the air moving around.
The atmosphere?
Yeah. Oh, there it is, the atmosphere. Thank you, Terry. So yeah, it's like we have this thing that we live in, and like stuff moves around freely in it. So if you pump shit out on one end of it, it comes out on the other end, and it's like, it's making everything hotter. And I'm sure there's going to be a downward cycles for our oceans too, because the air is getting hotter, so the oceans get hotter, and then that'll lead to more of these growths that we're seeing. Like, you're in Florida, you get the algae blooms, and they're like wildly out of control, killing all the sea life. And you get red and green sea algae blooms too. It's not just one. It's two.
The red tide, the blue green, the green algae is more in freshwaters, and of course red tide is in the Gulf, which is great.
Right.
So, also, not only the oceans are dying, and the oceans actually produce more oxygen than the rainforests do.
Yeah.
All the phytoplankton, the plant plankton that photosynthesizes, when they start to die, we're choking.
That's the thing that I think we would like. By the time I'm 44 now, so when I was in school, they were teaching us like the rainforest was our oxygen, but we've really learned since then that it's actually our oceans that are feeding most of the oxygen.
They're the lungs of the planet.
Yeah. Basically, yeah. Full of fluid, though, which is probably a weird cough. No, it's true. And so it's as we see more and more of this stuff. Because I think also another thing people don't really know is that the U.S. Military is like the number one creator of greenhouse gases. Like the number one. So you can't like be pro-military and pro-environment. You know what I mean? Or maybe, there's two ways to look at it, right? You really can't have both, because one is, antithetical to the other. But at the same time, you need to be pro-military to reduce the greenhouse gases. Like, in order to reduce the damage it's doing, you have to be involved with being for it in a way.
It's accelerating all the time. The feed out loose. It's terrifying if you think about it too much, which I tend to do.
Yeah, there's terrifying if you think about it too much, which I do. I do that. That's a me thing as well, Terry. I hear you on that. Yes, it is. That's
I read
somebody posted a picture of Lake Dillon in Colorado, which is the reservoir where Denver gets most of its drinking water.
Mm-hmm.
There's hardly any water left in it. They've had the worst drought in 135 years.
Wow.
Yeah, I think California is the only state not experiencing any type of drought right now, because we had so much water. Like, we got the whole country worth of water this last year. So
we were having a huge drought for like 10 years straight.
Yeah, exactly. We were parched as could be. But the same thing is with Iran, where supposedly hitting their water sites, they were having a water crisis before. Because we're talking a lot about, like, I feel like we have a fuel crisis right now. Like, I think we have a fuel crisis coming. It's coming. We've had fuel crisis. Every time we go to war in the Middle East, clumsily, we end up with this fuel crisis. Oil spikes to $100 a barrel. It's like 91 right now. It was 100 yesterday. It'll go back and forth depending on what happens in the war. Don't let anyone tell you it was Trump doing anything, though, because it spiked down, which I don't know if spiked down is the right way to say that, but it dropped below $100 a barrel at market opening at 7 a.m. So it was just something the market was correcting, but it's going to go back and forth, and probably has to do with trading in other countries. But other countries are already asking people to reduce their footprint, their oil and gas footprint. There's one country, I can't remember which one it is. Maybe it's Spain. They're just not doing Wednesdays anymore.
Like fuel rationings?
Yeah, no. They're just like, no one goes to work on Wednesdays.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah, I think it's Spain. Let me see if I can find it. This is actually
Yeah,
right.
that's a good idea.
It's one of these countries where they're just like AI doesn't like how, because they have the AI overview, and I'll ask something in a funny way because I'm looking for something, and if it's not like literally correct, it's like, it's not canceling Wednesdays. I'm like, no, I know it's not. I know it's not canceling Wednesdays. It's one of these countries is doing it, but a bunch of them are asking for reduction in oil footprint because they're like, it's going to be a problem. There's no way it's not a problem. And the thing is too is like Iran is just going to make bank. I heard $2 million a tanker is what they were charging at least one group. $2 million a tanker to get to the Strait of Hormuz, which is like wild. I think. I mean, I guess I'm not really good on how much an oil tanker should cost.
Well, Trump lifted the sanctions temporarily, supposedly, on Iranian oil because he wanted to supply more oil to the world market to try to lower.
Didn't that lead Israel to then hit more oil depots, like the big oil depot? Like I saw a timeline someone break down of how Trump was like, he loosened these, and then Israel hit more of Iran's oil, and that was like, they were like, it was kind of like a 1-2, like, oh, you're gonna let them sell their oil? No, we're gonna destroy it. And then that's when he was mad at Israel for what they did. Remember when he put that tweet out being like, we had nothing to do with this, they did it on their own? It's sort of a weird thing to tweet. It was kind of in the shadow. It was kind of in the shadow of that. So it was
yeah, he tends to do that good cop bad cop thing a lot with Israel.
Yeah,
allowing them to signing off on something and allowing them to do something that he said he wasn't going to do.
I just don't appreciate this fog of war. Like fog of war, we talked about before on the show, it's like when things go wrong on a battlefield. But this like lying from executive level fog of war is just what's real and what's true and it's so hard to tell. And this was something that's heavily talked about. It's not like we're the only, this is a thing that happens in these types of events, and so no one is saying the truth about anything, so no one knows what's going on. But I do know that we're at a tipping point, and a couple other things with Trump, specifically the ICE DHS shutdown stuff. I think that a lot of people, I don't know if you guys know, but ICE is now showing up at airports, and they are grabbing people there, and they're not identifying themselves. It's super sketchy, super screwed up, and very ugly. But the thing is, though, it kind of puts the whole balance of everything in a trepidatious sort of situation for Trump and DHS, which they just approved a new DHS person. We'll see how that goes. I'm pretty sure it'll be terrible.
Mark Wayne.
Yeah, the two first names is really...
It's not even... Yeah, it's two first names in one.
I know, it's weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mark Wayne.
Yeah, it's not going to be great. So, and Fetterman, of course,
voted for him.
Fetterman has some of the worst polling of any senator like in history. So, like, the chances of him making it through his next primary is slim to none. I need to just
and there's more and more talk of replacing Schumer as leader, which would be awesome.
Yeah.
Not a day sooner. Or not a day too soon. It's just immediately. Schumer is an artifact. It belongs in a museum. Is really this is the conversation.
20th century politician.
Yeah, him and the Baileys can have a nice little seat in the museum. It'll just be an empty booth. We always talk about that. The Baileys. Is that a real family in New York, Jesse?
No, you made it up.
Yeah, it's a made-up family in New York. Joe and Eileen, I think their names are. Bailey.
That is the wildest shit I've ever heard. Like I still can't get over that. That's a thing that is something as reality. Like the leader of the Democrats in the Senate made up a fake family to use to excuse all of his bad decisions, and not everyone knows it's a fake family. So it sounds like he's talking about a real family, but he just made it up, and that is like.
And he bounces ideas off them.
Oh my god. Are the Baileys just thoughts in your head? Like, it's like the people who like think they're hearing God, not
Are these
understanding
Baileys
their
in the
thoughts.
room with us now?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Would the Baileys be for defunding ICE? Would the Baileys be for abolishing ICE?
How is this gonna help the Baileys? And you're like, they're not real, bro. Nothing will help them. You made it up. And honestly, it just really goes to show, like, even when he's making up his own stories, he's screwing over the people, because his version of how people, like what he thinks people think they, you know what I mean? Like, how his version of it is awful. He's just, God. It's just
They're conservative Democrats.
Oh, of course they are.
Yeah.
Which is such a thing.
So basically, his like made up family that his, all of his legislative ideas get bounced off of are basically a version of him.
Right. It's just like he completely lacks any true imagination. So he's like created. It's just the whole thing's so weird. Anyways, but we're not going on again. I just when you start talking about Schumer, I'm like, so many things. Him and what Jeffries on the Dem leadership is just the worst. And we can talk about rotating villain and all the negativity, but they're just like, it's really more of a neoliberal issue, and it has to do with horseshoe theory, and like, because horseshoe theory isn't actually a horseshoe, it's a circle, and neoliberals sit at the top, and anarchists sit at the bottom, and like socialism and communism are closer to anarchism than they are to neoliberalism, and so, but the thing is that the right and the left, neoliberalism, are right next to each other, so they have more in common than everybody else. So when you get down to like people who are socialists or all this stuff, you have this united force of neoliberals in both parties that are able to draw a majority because money drives elections, and those people have access to money, and their whole deal is austerity. So more money for them and less money for everyone else, and that puts more people in office, and it's really a terrible cycle. Really, really terrible cycle. And you'd be like, well, how do we fix it? There is no clear fix. There's no clear fix. There's no clear fix. People say Citizens United, and they say, PAC money, and they say all these things at the end. Yeah, but they'll just figure out a different way to put the money in. Like, the problem is the amount of money they have. And the thing is, and then if you try to tax them, they'll just use their money to prevent you from taxing them. So you have to figure out a way to, like, make them feel generous. Like, it's weird. It sucks. It worked when it worked. I don't know, did you hear another thing to hate Peter Thiel for? Peter Thiel's trying to convince all the billionaires. You know that thing Warren Buffett was doing where I think it was Warren Buffett, where he's convincing everyone to give away all their money? I don't remember. There's some pledge that they were all taking, and he's...
Effective altruism or something?
Yeah, what the hell was it called? There's a name for it.
Was it effective altruism?
Oh, they were trying. It was working. People were giving away their money. The Giving Pledge. It's Warren Buffett, Melinda Gates, and Bill Gates launched the Giving Pledge in 2010.
Okay.
And so
how does Peter Thiel fit into this?
Peter Thiel is talking all of his rich friends out of doing it.
Oh,
of course he is. He's the Antichrist.
What a wonderful guy.
Yeah, so 3 days ago, this is an article from 3 days ago on CNBC that Buffett is having to defend his Giving Pledge against Thiel. So apparently it's definitely like becoming more of a thing. Because
Billionaire fight.
Yeah, billionaires are like fighting over whether or not they should give their money away or hoard it all like dragons.
Yeah.
Which we are kind of watching Peter Thiel slowly turn into a dragon.
Yeah.
He looks bad. What's going on with him?
You ever hear of Emperor Palpatine? Right, the like evil flows through.
Yeah, sure, of course, Star Wars.
Yeah, I know. Well, it apparently it's bad for your skin. Apparently, yeah. Did you? Okay, so I didn't mean to go on a Peter Thiel trend, but did you hear about what happened with him in the Vatican?
No.
Okay.
I know he went to Rome to talk about the
and they asked
Antichrist.
him to leave.
He did?
The
Sir,
Vatican.
the door is over there.
The Vatican asked
I
him
love
to
Pope Leo.
leave. They were like, and then like a ton of top of the religious. What I'm not really religious in them, but they got their deal. Were all coming out against him, being like, no.
Did he leave?
I think so. Well, I asked him to leave. I mean, I don't know what he actually did or not, but
I wonder how long this.
The Swiss guards don't play, so.
Yeah, I wonder how long the smell of sulfur lasts in the air after.
Yeah. So his whole shtick is he was giving these lectures on the Antichrist, and it was a private lecture. There were gonna be like 3 or 4 days of it, and nobody was gonna know where or when. It was like private, you know what I mean? And the Vatican was like, "Get the hell out of here!" Labeled a heretic by Vatican Aid.
Yeah.
Labeled a heretic. And his whole shtick is like we've heard him say he calls everything the Antichrist because he's trying to manipulate religious people against whatever he wants. He really saw the like what was his name, Terry? That religious. He used to do the TV thing where he's like really old, and he would do like God sermons. He'd like talk at the thing and raise a bunch of money. But he was really powerful in elections. I can't remember his name. Sorry,
Billy
guys.
Graham?
Yeah, it's like those guys in general, like those kind of characters. A lot of those guys died off recently. A lot of the big ones. So I think Thiel sees like an opening to manipulate the religious right as like a leader, and he wants to be viewed as somebody who can like the money proves that he's God's chosen people, and he wants to use that.
Well,
to be
he's got one problem that he has with that, honestly, is he claims to be a Catholic. The evangelicals do not like Catholics. They don't think they're real Christians.
Yeah, I wouldn't call that his only problem, but I would definitely say it's a pretty big
one. I mean,
that's
for that clan anyway. That's one of them.
Yeah. Well, the way Palantir and OpenAI have acted around the government's desire to like make everything worse for everyone, I think it's just ultimately going to be the downfall of these guys, because there's just like what is there for the public to like about them? You know, like what is there when you're like writing characters and like writing a movie or something like that, you gotta make your characters likable, and there's just this character is just not likable, and your money only goes so far. He does have a lot of it though, so it goes pretty far.
It is progress that the public doesn't like these people. Like, there was a short period there where like I feel like the billionaires were being sort of lauded, as these captains of industry and geniuses, like in the early 2000s.
Right.
And now like Zuckerberg and Bezos and like all these guys, they were like the smart guys, but it's finally pretty,
I think it has a lot to do with the disparity, right? The wealth disparity between the like normal person and the super rich. Like we see them on their yachts and we see them having their huge things. Also, I don't know. I saw a report that the Amazon Bozos, apparently his wife's taste for spending is outspending his actual wealth.
How's that possible?
I don't know if it's real. I don't know if it's just hating on women or something like that. This gold digger. I have no idea what awful thing they were trying to say about women on the side, but I think it is possible, because have you seen these like yachts and things like that these guys get? Like,
how much did he spend on his wedding? Like $5 million or something?
But I don't know. It was crazy. It was a crazy wedding. He spent between 46 and 55 million.
On a wedding.
On a wedding. Well, it was like several days, 3 days.
Wow.
But
I don't think people are going to put up with it much longer.
It was only 0.02% of his net worth. But it's the yachts that are breaking these guys. If you own a yacht, they usually have a second yacht for the support staff, and they're just money holes. Like, yachts are money holes. And especially if you're trying
All
to keep it
boats
looking,
are.
yeah,
Honestly,
especially if you're trying
all
to keep it
boats are.
looking,
Honestly, boat actually stands for break out another 1,000.
yeah. So I met my wife at a fabric store that I worked at. 'Cause I sold fabric for a little portion of my life, just doing like helping people like do cash. We had boat people come in all the time because we were near the marina, and they were always trying to buy stuff in like cut corners, and you could just see the look on their face as they were realizing how much they were going to have to spend just to get new cushions that wouldn't immediately fall apart. You could just see the soul leave their body, and so like the scale is so much larger. But yeah, it's the yachts that just empty. That's why the renting the yachts, like they have those yachts that like get rented between like a lot of people, and they kind of all take turns share like what's it called, where you all share a
Timeshare?
yeah, like a timeshare. Those kind of make sense. Like if you're into yachts and you do that thing, you have like a timeshare yacht and you just pay into it, and it's not a giant money hole. But otherwise, it's a huge money hole, and especially if you want to keep it nice and fancy and modern and the newest thing. Yeah, it's crazy amounts of money.
Well, I'm on Team Orca personally.
Well, yeah. Now you need your Orca defense system too. That's going to throw in an extra couple million. But going back to the ice at the airports, which is just awful. But I feel like we did some numbers on this, and there's about 60,000 TSA members. Now, if you guys don't know, the shutdown, the partial government shutdown, is still in effect. And it's affecting TSA the most. TSA is 60,000 workers. ICE is about 20,000. So those people are not getting paid at all. ICE is still getting paid as far as... I haven't seen anything about ICE. If they were getting paid, they are still getting paid because the money to pay them was separate from the government spending. Because they got that huge... from the big ugly bill. They got that huge cash to spend, so they have their cash flush, but TSA isn't. So those people aren't showing up to work. That's why we're having these huge lines, just out to the park. Like if you're gonna fly right now, don't. Which I think that there's a big miscalculation being done here. And if you're COVID conscious, I'm gonna bring up a point that it's gonna kind of wrap this all around, because who remembers who it was that was responsible for removing the wait time for workers when they get sick from COVID?
Delta Airlines.
Delta Airlines was able to just write a letter, and they broke all the science and cut the wait for being sick from 5 days to 1 day, which is bonkers, because why would you want sick people? Like, I can imagine a sick person being on an airplane, but why would you have every airplane have sick people? Like, what are we doing here? Just spreading disease? Or are you spreading, like, what is even happening? But when it comes to ICE, now we're already getting calls to avoid flying at all in America right now. You can avoid flying. I'm telling you right now, avoid flying. That's going to grow into a boycott of flying. And that's going to grow into these people who are ultra powerful, control the airlines, going back to the president and being like, you're disrupting air travel.
Good.
Which is, bad greenhouse gas, lots of reasons disrupting air travel actually, safely, legally, of course, just to be clear, is a good thing, limiting it. But when it comes to the pivot here, it's like it's only going to make ICE more unpopular, and it's only going to make flying less popular. And then at the same time, we're having this oil crisis, so the planes are going to be more expensive than ever to fly. So if less people are flying, it's going to directly affect like major decision makers in our country. And you can say, should they be whatever, right or wrong? But they are. So this is what it's going to come down to. So I feel like they've accidentally put themselves in a no-win situation where the natural outcome is going to be fewer people flying, fewer money on the jets, but fewer, especially when all these things have like people are having lines into the like parking lot right now to get in through TSA. Like no one is making it through, so everyone is missing their flights, and then that's going to compound things even more, which means eventually it will lead to fewer people flying and more expensive flights. The flights will get cheaper to the consumer because they'll be desperate just to get anything out of it, but it's gonna put TSA and Trump into like an interesting position, and in the midst of a fuel crisis. And there's a big explosion at a Texas oil refinery. I don't know, about 3 hours,
Port Arthur.
Yeah, Port Arthur. About 3 hours ago. Well, it's like happened right around the time we started pre-call, and that's going to lead to more fuel crisis. And like now is not a good time to like get your car oil changed now. Like fill up your gas tanks and kind of keep it towards the top. Drive as little as you can. I saw $8 gas at one place. I don't know if it was real, but you know, I mean, where I have right now, where we are, it's when I filled up the other day, which I only get gas once a month. It was $5.79. Good time to use. I use not to be a commercial, but I use Ralph's points. Saves me $1. I put the Ralph's code in the thing. So anyway, you can like save money on gas, guys. It's a good time to start thinking about that because it's just going to get worse.
Well, hopefully, like an opposition party would be out here, you know, explaining to people what's happening and trying to abolish ICE, dismantle DHS, hold Trump accountable for this war that he started. You know, explain to the public what's going on and like try to get some change out of it.
Yeah, instead, we got what's it called? We got AIPAC bragging that even though they couldn't win elections, they at least stopped the people who were the most against them. And you're just like, ugh. They're not even like they didn't even win. They just shot the people they couldn't bribe down.
Yeah. But people are definitely turning against Trump.
Yeah, and then at the same time, we got SCOTUS ready to. It doesn't look good. This mail ballot thing does not look good. Basically, 13 states have mail ballots rules where if you mail the ballot, there's a grace period for it to arrive, and they're trying to remove that grace period. They've already screwed with postmarking. So, like, if you vote on election day, it might not get stamped on election day. It might get stamped a couple of days later, and then that would make it uncountable in a lot of states. But they're also talking about changing how 13 states that they accept later ballots get counted. Like, well, you know, that could just mean that someone could just show up with a bunch of ballots. And they're like, but they're ballots that people voted. And we validate the ballots. It's not like we don't validate as much vote by mail, to be honest, as we should. But this idea that, like, oh, all these ballots came in the legal amount of time for them to come in.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, they're always like trying to say, well, you know, it was going good for us, and then just tipped the other way. And you're like, yeah, because you were going to lose the whole time. And, you know, we've seen sketchy things go on in primaries. But they don't really go on in general elections because primaries are handled by the parties, and general elections are handled by the states and the federal government. Technically, the states handle the primaries too, but it's the parties are in charge of it. They ultimately have jurisdiction over. So, like, shady shit can happen in there for sure. But if you cheat federal elections, those are federal felonies. It's a total different. Like, it is not. It's why I get from that because from the whole Bernie time, I talk about how they cheated the primaries so many different ways, and people kind of roll their eyes at me. I'm like, no, guys, it's legal to cheat primaries, which is unfortunately not a great selling point when you're trying to convince people to get involved with primaries. You're like, oh, great, so I shouldn't show up? What are you saying? They're like, exactly, that's why we shouldn't do it. And I'm like, no, you have to get more involved so they can't. Oh, man. I've had that conversation more times than I can count, and every time I'm like, well, it's kind of true. But you can't really argue about it. But the mail ballots is going to be something, depending on how the Supreme Court goes. I just think like voting this year is going to be tougher no matter what. Like if the SAVE Act passes or not, it's just going to be tougher. I don't think the SAVE Act is going to pass unless they get rid of 53, maybe 54 with Fetterman. But that's not 60 votes. So they would need like 5 or 6 Democrats. And even with rotating villain, I couldn't see 5 or 6 Democrats flipping over for the SAVE Act. Like that would be...
No.
I can't see it. I can't, like, that would be too far. Like, even if Israel was making them do it, I don't think they can get 6 for it.
I imagine Fetterman will be the only one.
There are those 2 other guys. Oh, no, they're in the House. They're in the House. So never mind. There's the 2 or 3 guys that are, like, really, really bad about it. And
Henry Kohler, for one.
Yeah, there's a couple of them that are really... They should just be Republicans. So we're kind of coming up on the next thing, and this is a COVID related sort of thing because we do vaccines and variant selection, and we kind of get involved with that. If you're a new listener and you weren't aware, it's something that we do here. And then we do like propose presentations to the FDA to try to like explain. And generally speaking, they do what we suggest for the most part, or at least give us what we want for our thing, which is, you know, the Novavax variants. But they split it up last year, and we were saying this is the right thing to do. If we had known XFG was going to be the thing, we going with XFG, which is why I think like this year there's going to be a lot of talk. They're ramping up. The powers that be are ramping up to sell BA.3.2 as the next variant of concern for vaccines, and it's like a mixed bag because it's genetically distinct from the other things, but it is kind of on its own. So like the odds of it becoming the main variant, and it hasn't been able to do it yet really anywhere, it's like 20-30% at most, but it never really becomes like the main variant, while at the same time we have XFG. And I think, you know, I also think about how like people use these vaccines for like persistence and things like that, and it just makes more sense to me, at least right now, that we have some kind of XFG derivative, or, you know, from XFG, because we talk about the trunk of the tree or chasing a leaf, right? And the leaves are the individual variants, and the trunk is like JN1 is the trunk, right? And I think, like, personally, from everything that I've seen, it appears that XFG is the new trunk lineage, and we have things like BA.3.2, NB.181. They're still batting. Or what are the other ones that are batting around right now? They're all kind of in the same sort of territory.
Right now we pretty much just have XFG and NB.181, but it's mainly all XFG.
What is the NB.181 subvariant called again? Doesn't it have a subvariant that it was going, or has a different? Because like the
Right, I think they all sort of have some subvariants at this point. Like, there's a lot to XFG as well, but I'm not super well versed in those.
Ones have all kept XFG names. They're all XFG like 0.1 or point, like they're all still saying in that with that frame. A couple of them, like what was it? It was BA.2.3 that has the RE variants that were making some noise a couple weeks ago.
Right, exactly.
So you're looking at BA.3.2 as a parent strain. Like, is it going to be a parent strain for it? It does seem like, though, it has the potential to be. You know, it's a shame the bivalents don't work, because, you know, after doing the influenza stuff like a week and a half ago, it really made me realize the benefit of the multivalents. It's just they just don't get good responses out of them, you know, or better responses. So, you know. But,
yeah, XFG's been like the predominant variant on CDC's site for like months. They just changed it to XFG.1 as the predominant one, but there's like 3 or 4 that are all XFG-ish.
Right.
Lead. Yeah.
I think it's important, like, Sid Rat put out an article talking about its immune evasion, and I feel like it's really important to distinguish. And maybe I'm cutting, you know, trying to split hairs on this, but like it feels like you're talking about the difference between antigenically distinct and immune evasive. Like all these XFG variants are immune evasive to each other because they're gaining immune evasion as they're but like the ones that are further away do have a type of immune evasion, but they're more antigenically distinct than immune evasive. So it's like one of these, like, how we think about immune evasive is like really weird, because it doesn't mean like, it does mean it evades immunity, but it makes it sound like it's like doing it like a dance around it to like get away or something, but it's more like it's mutated far enough away that it's distinct enough that your old antibodies don't identify it. Hang on one second. Because, you know, you talk about like XFG, and I feel like why it should be the strain we focus on is because it has immune evasion to each other continuously. So like you need the whole parent strain we need immunity to, which is kind of like back to, you know, I wish we could, and this is what I'm hoping to get out of ICER. I was thinking about it because ICER is just doing this therapeutic recommendation, and we're getting ready to put something together. It's kind of outside of their rules, but we're going to do it anyways. I feel like this is a really good time we should be talking about like people getting like a full series of Novavax as instead of just talking about boosters. We've always pushed for people to get the 3-shot series when they start, so that you can do like once, because they wanted to sell once a year with mRNA, but it didn't really work out that way because your immune system like it wanes completely, and the memory response is now to the wrong variant. So you could boost, but you could really only get as high as the 2-shot series. Like you couldn't really, the 3 shots didn't really do anything. And then that's why we kind of like do this booster thing, because it's really the best it does. And if you get too many boosters, you have this IgG4 issue, which is an issue. Don't let Evil Kenny talking about it, that's Malone, who was former ACIP, talking about it, make it seem like it's not a real thing. It's a very real thing. We spent a lot of time explaining and unwinding. Like, I feel like we spent like an entire year of this show just talking and figuring out IgG4 and what was happening with it, explaining it to folks. So you get it when you get these shots. Happens with DTaP too. But the point is that which DTaP is a good vaccine. Don't misinterpret. It's one of the most important vaccines we have. It's just as an adult getting 2 together, or as a child getting 2 together, creates this response. With children, we time for it. With adults, we just ignore it. But the point is that you have all these issues. But I feel like people, like when you have these variants that you don't really know, like we have XFG or maybe BA.2.3 or maybe NB.181, and they're all kind of like antigenically distinct from each other on the cartography, which is like a square grid of, the full distance between each variant, so you can get a general idea of them relative to each other. They're probably my favorite thing in all of immunology, because it just makes total sense out of everything for you. Helps you if you can read those charts, you can really understand what's happening really easily. But it's always the thing. I'm like, have we gotten cartography yet? And usually we haven't. But the way that getting the multiple shots increases the range of your antibodies. I feel like moments like these are really good moments to explain that people should get like a multi-series of Novavax, because even if it's targeting the parent variant, it'll increase its range with every shot in ways that mRNA can't. So from like a therapeutic protective sort of perspective, it's such a better way to vaccinate if you're genuinely concerned about people having COVID infections that can lead to loss of life or just long COVID or however you want to frame that. It's okay. So I feel like this is a good time to explain to people this is a benefit, because we don't know which is the right variant. It's not really clear. And even if you get if the variants are split like 20-20-20, you don't know. You only have a narrow chance that the vaccine you got is going to be effective against the variant you're trying to fight. But if you use the range increase from the multiple vaccines, then you kind of overcome that problem. And I just, it's frustrating to me that people are so slow to see that. It's frustrating to me because it seems like so obvious. It's like when we talk about this, we got this data from Novavax made an LP81 in Japan. Technically, Novavax didn't make it. Japan made it. Japan has a deal to make Novavax's product on their own. They can choose whatever variant they want. They chose LP81. It performed basically just as well as the Pfizer's LP81, basically just as well. No, but mRNA did have slightly higher antibodies, slightly higher. Now, what was confusing about the study, though, what's frustrating about it is you look at this thing and you're like, that is the best mRNA can do. That is the best. That is the peak mRNA. mRNA cannot get a higher response than that. If you get a second shot, you start running into other problems. And it doesn't really create more antibodies. It just sort of leaves them at the same level. And it wanes really fast. So even though it's higher in the study, it doesn't mean that it stayed higher, like the length of that. Because that's not what they're trying to prove in these studies. They're just trying to prove like the non-inferiority sort of stuff. Like, is it good enough? How do they compare in a general way? Because they're only concerned about antibodies at that peak period of, did you get an immune response? But what about 6 months later? What about a year later? And some of these studies do test that sort of stuff, but when it comes down to ultimately, these people have been previously vaccinated. It's unclear with what vaccine. They might have been mRNA, they might have been Novavax, but they had multiple vaccines. But ultimately, unless you're getting multiple Novavax, you're not getting the benefit of the product. comparatively, like what makes them. I'm saying this weird. Someone fix this for me. I'm saying this weird because it's not that the product is just good mRNA. It's that it can just achieve so much higher, and we just ignore that. It's weird.
So the study is showing one of each, but doesn't kind of specify what the person got before the Novavax, and they're LP8
yeah,
ones.
So they've had like 5 other vaccines. They're considered fully vaccinated, but they don't specify which vaccines they got.
Right. So we have no idea the information before that point.
Right.
And then it just sort of the study stops at a certain date.
Right. I'm inclined to think, and I'm actually going to write the author and ask them because they actually will answer questions. But I'm inclined to believe they're all mRNA. And then some people got Novavax. I'm inclined to believe that right now.
Yeah.
Just because that's usually what they do.
It's a weird thing to not consider.
No, because the benefit is not considered. Right? Because it's not like normal for that to be like on the table at all.
They're sort of only measuring one against one, not even caring about what happened before that.
Right. And they're generalizing vaccination in general. Like they're generalizing that they're all fully vaccinated because they've gone interchangeable or not or whatever. Like how they're using this term and terminology and how we technically use it is not very technical.
Yeah. At this stage of the pandemic, it doesn't seem like a way to really do something, like to measure things that way.
Well, I mean, I think it just has a lot to do with just how immunology is handled in general. Like, the ability for Novavax to build on its previous shots is unique to it. So, like, people have not registered that is a thing they need to measure for. Like, I don't think that the people who are doing this have necessarily nefarious intentions. Like, some of them do, but, like, you know, I think it's just that how we've standardized it is wrong. And it's but that standardization wasn't done maliciously so much as it was just how we do it in general. And because this is a new idea, like it just takes a long time for new ideas to catch on. Like for people to understand that this thing is here, that they could do that, they could have more protection than that. That's not really what we measure. We just go for, is it as good as this measurement? And if it is, we go with that. If it can do more than that, then that's a different story. But I just don't think people know that that's a thing. Because I've had to explain it to people, pretty much every person who knows it's a thing. Like, we've had to explain it to them. And there's a ton of data for it. It's been in all of the presentations we've done to the FDA. I think the point has been made to them. You know what I mean? I think the vaccine experts understood the concept. But when you explain it to the public, because it has a lot to do with pay-to-play, too, experts. Pay-to-play experts don't like these types of things because no one paid them to talk about it. Or, you know, doesn't help their industry in some way. Even though it does. But I don't know. I don't understand. It seems like it should be like the biggest, most revolutionary thing to happen in vaccines in like 2 generations, maybe even ever. And people are just like, I don't get it.
I mean, people should understand it because even like in the beginning of the pandemic, it was talked about a lot, like getting a primary series and having to boost on top of it, and you know you weren't fully vaccinated until I'm just using the lingo to describe that, like this was a concept that people talked about before.
Yeah, no, it shouldn't be that weird, but I think there's also like people also just want to put the pandemic behind them and the initial vaccinations here. So like very important to understand. We're super pro-vaccine to the point that we will say that, well, I will say, speak for the group on this, is that I don't believe the initial mRNA vaccine series worked effectively the way people try to imply it did. The virus changed. We got Omicron. It totally shifted how it handles disease. It's still just as bad, but differently. And they took that and they measured that as success of the vaccine. Even though anything, it would be a failure of the vaccine because it very, very possibly could have been positive pressure for like mutational to like make it Omicron into Omicron since all the timetables align. But the thing is it's just like all the neoliberal sort of plans. The plan doesn't need to work. They just have to convince people the plan works. And once people are convinced the plan works, especially something like the pandemic where people really want it behind them, like for a lot of people, everyone.
The plan worked.
I'm saying the COVID pandemic is very, very, very traumatic. You know what I mean? For a lot, for everyone. So like Most people just wanted it to work. They wanted to believe it worked. They don't want to believe that it didn't work. They don't want to believe that more vaccines and more masks. That's why people, I think, are also rebuking the mask wearing, because they want to believe they don't need to go. They can go back to their life because we solved the problem. They want to believe the problem is fixed. Pfizer's running around saying they solved COVID and shit.
Right.
And you're like, no, you solved making money on COVID. You didn't solve the disease that's running rampant still. Like, is it lower than it was? Yeah, but that doesn't mean anything. We're dealing with a ton of persistence. The persistence is the thing that's really getting me, because, and this is a failure in the long COVID community too, talking about syncytial formations and why long COVID is degenerative and why long COVID is like HIV and why we need to solve persistence the way we need to. And they just ignore the mechanism and mechanics of why that is necessary. Like saying, well, it's like HIV. You're like, well, how is it like HIV? Well, it's immune suppressive. Okay, why is it immune suppressive? Well, it just is. You lose people. But if you can explain, like I did in my long COVID article, well, it creates syncytial formations just like HIV, and the mechanisms of syncytial formations are immune suppressive. Not to mention the spike is immune suppressive inside of that, and then you have all these other issues that come up where that also go on to suppress your immune system. But you like the way we leave the mechanisms on the floor in communicating with people, it's really disappointing. It's really disappointing there's so much pushback and people are viewed as leaders who just won't talk about things properly. And then they like accuse everyone else. What even pisses me off more, and I'm going to say some of this specifically at Turn, because he did this to me and just like, oh God, it makes me sick. Where like finally the evidence comes around about what I was saying and someone goes, oh, just like Don was saying. And they're like, oh, please don't do that. Please don't. What, credit someone for trying to protect people? Like, you got to remember, these people who are like anonymous on the internet aren't trying to help or protect people. They're doing whatever their shaded interests are. You know what I mean? They're not there for you. They're there for themselves. And even if you want to be like, well, you're here for yourself. Yeah, but myself is me helping people, and then I get credit for helping people, and then I get to help more people. And that's Dawn helping Dawn. Like, I'll help people, and I'll get credit for helping people, and then I'll help more people, and then that will open the door to help even more people, and then everyone gets helped. It's like, that's like not what is happening with these other people. You know, they mask and make it seem like that, but they're really burying important information and making it harder for us to reach people, and they're controlling and manipulating what we can or cannot talk about, which is just as bad as every other minimizer on the internet, in my opinion, because they're all just trying to control and shift what can be said by who about what and who can get credit for what. And like, I think the big thing that people should realize, the folks who are doing, they like name, like, was it Stratus and Nimbus, all these stupid names for their variants. These people are like the worst. They always claim they're COVID conscious, but don't do that. Like, doing these coded numbers is so important, and we fought so hard to move away from, because people were like, oh, we had alpha and then beta and gamma and delta and all this crap, and that was at the time a terrible system for naming COVID variants, because COVID variants mutate really, really fast, and it doesn't illustrate how quickly things shift. Like, you look at XFG, there are like 9 XFG variants that are all semi-dominant, that all have different coded variants, and if they were called Fluffy Weasel and Kitty Cat and other stupid shit, you wouldn't be able to easily see the mutational shifts. The numbers are mutational shifts. It's super straightforward and easy for people to teach and understand. But if you're saying, oh, Stratus and Nimbus are here, you're like, those were like 50 different variants. It wasn't just one variant. It was a ton of variants. They just grouped them all together and hid the mutational things. They literally, by taking up these names, they made it harder to identify risks to the public and made it more difficult to explain to people how COVID works. They just lumped it all together, and then we got 9 months of fluffy pants. Like, it's so ridiculous how this goes. And we fought so hard to do that way, and then we got them to do it that way finally, and then these people come along and start naming variants to feed their ego because they want to do something that they think is cool, but really they're just doing the same thing the minimizers did when they were calling things alpha and omega and shit. Pisses me off. It pisses me off. It pisses me off too, because like how people get sucked into minimizing without realizing it, and then when you try to tell them, because they have got some sort of weird relationship with this person now. It's like you're calling out their mother or something. You know what I mean? I'm trying to explain how someone is giving you bad safety data, and people feel like personally attacked. Oh, but this person tries to protect me. No, this person is tricking you about protecting you. I've been trying to explain this whole time, but you're too busy being tricked and not protected to not realize that we are trying to protect you, but you're not listening. It makes me. It does. It really bugs me. Because, we put all this effort into trying to explain things to people, and then all these people come in with this expertise that they don't actually have. They drag everything out backwards for their own personal gain, and now we are further from explaining people the risk of COVID than we were when I wrote my long COVID article in 2022. It's 4 years later, and these people have dragged us backwards. And every time I try to explain to people, like, all that drama over those guys saying long COVID risk was only 10%. Like, those people were minimizing. People took their side because I was saying these people are minimizing. Doesn't matter if they're patients or not. If they're minimizing the risk, they're minimizing the risk. And then now it took a full, 2 years to come back around to 30%. Well, you know what happened in those 2 years? A lot more people got sick and had their lives destroyed because we didn't give them the correct information. And you claim to be patient advocates and safety advocates, and yet you let people minimize risk that goes on to hurt people, and then you want to sit in some sort of morally superior position when the plan didn't work. The plan didn't work. The thing that you all doubled down on in those instances, not you all, whoever they are, I assume they're not our listeners at this point, if you double down on these ideas that just hurt people, and then they continue to double down, and we continue to enable those people, and all they're going to do is hurt more. They're going to drive us backwards more. They're going to explain more things poorly. They're going to illustrate the risk wrong.
I wonder how the Baileys would weigh in on this.
Oh my god.
People are aroused. I haven't seen people so aroused in a very, very long time.
I assume the Baileys would agree. If I know the Baileys the way that I know the Baileys, they'll agree with whatever thoughts I have in my head because they're a thought in my head. Yeah, so it frustrates me. It frustrates me how people can't see, like, just because you like someone doesn't mean they like you the same. Like, the people who are manipulating you the most are the people that you agree with all the time. Like, it's just like, if you don't disagree with someone occasionally, they're probably not being honest with you. Like, I don't know how, like, people are like, I always get this thing, people are like, Don, you share some smart things, but you're saying this thing now, it's making me rethink all the other things you've ever said. And you're like, oh, did you find out something that maybe I know you didn't know or you just disagree with? Like, that's okay, as long as it's not like a deal breaker disagreement. But people get so weird about, I'm suddenly questioning everything you've ever said to me. And you're like, did you just catch me, like, cheating on you with your sister or something? Like, what are you talking about? Like the level of distrust that grows from just, maybe you just misunderstood, maybe you just didn't hear it right, maybe you just didn't, like, that's normal. It's normal to not agree with someone on something. Or sorry, I should say it's normal to not agree with someone on everything. It's normal.
Disagreement's okay.
Yeah, disagreement's great. We disagree about all kinds of stuff we save pre-call usually, though. But yeah,
I disagree.
I disagree. Oh, you disagree that we disagree? That's very meta.
I disagree with that, yes.
Yeah, that's very meta. So anyways, I'm amidst everything, I am really just looking forward to more. What do you think Trump's next retreat will be? Trump's next retreat. I'm thinking we got 5 days on Iran, so we will be back before that's up on Thursday, or every Monday and Thursday, around 7 p.m. Pacific. Gonna be wrapping up here pretty soon. Hey, no disruption. Actually, I had really good signal the whole time. No disruption in signal at all.
Yeah.
I'll take it.
Well, there was when we were first going on. There was a strike on a water and energy facility in Iran. It said U.S. and Israeli strikes. So I don't know if this counts as far as Trump calling the 5-day break or not, but I hope it doesn't count.
I think everything counts right now. They don't seem like they're playing.
Yeah, and they really sort of changed the whole dynamics, I think, when they hit that Dimona area in Israel, because it kind of showed that. I mean, that's right where that's Israel's nuclear power, but also their I said it wrong, Donna. Nuclear power.
Nuclear, not nuclear.
Yeah, that's where their nuclear power is, and also where it's always been suspected that their program is with their weapons, and Iran hit them right there and basically said, we have command over the skies in Israel now, and that's when Trump freaked out and said he was going to attack energy facilities there. That would be also a war crime, and gave them 48 hours to do it, and then they said, well, we're going to attack. Iran said we'll attack the Gulf states' energy facilities. So I don't know. It's the dominoes keep falling. I don't know how this is gonna work, but like I was saying last time, all wars end with negotiations. So it's got to get to that point, and we got to get out of this. We should have never been in it. Trump should have never dragged us to it.
Talk about illegitimate.
Totally illegitimate.
Completely illegal.
Well, I think Iran's got the upper hand, though. Really, they're going to demand a lot more concessions.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. 100%. 100%. Did you hear they're talking about Project 2029 or 2028 or whatever they're calling it?
Oh, that was Pritzker doing, yeah.
To prosecute Trump and all these people. That's their Project 2020.
That'll be the day.
Well, on one hand, you're like, great, totally. However, I feel like, what about all the other stuff?
What specifically are they talking about? This?
Just in general, that Trump and all of his ilk should be prosecuted, which they should be. They should have been. If Biden had prosecuted them in the first place, we wouldn't be here right now.
Yeah. But now there's such a rap sheet, it's incredible. Like,
right.
There's so many things they could go after him on.
Right. So there's they're talking about their project was going after prosecuting these people, which I'm happy to hear, but I also am like, we just had our government is in the process of being dismantled. We need to remantle it. And we're not just like putting back the old things the way they were. We need to make it better. So
they weren't that great to begin with.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like with COVID, we missed this real opportunity to like restructure. I should say with restarting things after the COVID shutdowns, because we are still very much in COVID. But the restarting the shutdowns, we could have like restarted a much better country, and we didn't. We just put the old country back. And it really goes to show that all the things that were happening that were like bad were austere and on purpose. So like we had the ability to turn it on or off. We were choosing to turn it back on. So I'd really like to see, out of this Project 2029 or whatever the hell it is, to putting back some of these systems in place so they're better than they were. Like put back better versions. Because I mean, the real problem with Democrats losing seats is they just don't do enough to help the public. If they did more to help the public, they wouldn't have people not voting for them.
Yeah. Every time we go back to normal after these big horrible events, we go back to normal a more broken country, and things actually get worse at each time we go back to normal.
Yeah. It's almost like repeating the same mistake over and over again has negative outcomes.
Yeah. The last time was the pandemic,
Yeah.
Just ignoring it and going back to normal.
Well, we're not going back to normal here because we're really trying to make this work. So I think we're going to wrap the show there. I think we're an hour and 8. I'm pretty good on it. Thank you, everyone. Anyone have any final things they want to add in here before we get out of here?
Good night and good luck.
Good night and good luck. There's not enough good luck to go around right now. What was that, Terry?
What was it Dan Rather used to say? Courage.
Dan Rather said courage?
Yeah, for a while there. Wasn't that during the Iraq War? Yeah, he'd sign off by saying courage.
I didn't remember that, but... Yeah, he got in a lot of trouble back then.
Mhm.
Yeah, he did.
I'm still thinking about the fluffy weasel variant. Oh,
The fluffy weasel variant. Come on, that was good. You know that.
I really want that fluffy weasel.
Yeah, they're kind of all fluffy weasels, if you look at it the right way. No, that variant thing is really important. It really bugs me because the COVID conscious community is really responsible for driving that. It's coming from us, and it is not COVID conscious at all. It is the worst thing imaginable. We need the variants to be shown to the public by their coded names so the public can see the mutation shifting. Because every time a variant gets a new number, it is now immune evasive to whatever you had before it. So if you had COVID 3 weeks ago and you see a new variant that just appeared to the thing, you are vulnerable to that variant. And that's the thing we're not selling to the public. So if you want the public to be more COVID conscious, stop hiding the mutational range that puts them at infection risk by having stupid names for them that don't accurately describe the risk. Like, we're losing a real opportunity to explain to the public how they're at harm's way, and that will lead to more immunocompromised people being protected. That will lead to more long COVID patients being protected. That will lead to more people being protected. And doing what they're doing now is the opposite of that. It will lead to less people being protected. It will lead people to less understanding the risk, and that's why the media picks it up, dummies. The media only picks up things that are bad for you. They don't pick up the good things. So if they're picking it up, it's because it's bad. So if you see the media picking up your idea, that's not a good thing. People always ask me, they always say, Don, if you did all this stuff, why don't people write articles about you? Well, first off, people have written articles, number one. Number two, the people you're fighting don't use their platforms to promote the people that are fighting them. They use their platforms in ways that boost their interests. So if they're taking something and using it, it's because it helps them in some way. How do people fall for this? Anyways, on that note, Brace for Impact. You can find us on Discord if you want. You can just drop a comment into the thing and someone will get you an invite. It's pretty solid. It's a pretty solid place. We got some stuff coming up. I think it'll be good. Hopefully the variant selection thing gets worked out. And we'll be back on Thursday to talk about more of Trump's losses for just in general. I almost said for the week. I found out that TikToker I like, Amanda Nelson is her name, by the way. She tracks, I can remember her name because it's a combination of names that are really family-ish names. But her name's Amanda Nelson, and she tracks Trump's L's for the week. And honestly, I'm going to start playing her things on the calls because it's amazing how much Trump is losing. She has to do multiple videos a week to keep up with all the losses. It's it's really, if you don't follow her, she's worth following. I don't know her political stances. I don't know where she's on Palestine. I don't know. But if you care about tracking this particular information, she does it really well. So I mentioned her because she always says tracking Trump's L's for the week or something like that. And she always does this EU thing. She's great. She does a great job with it. So I realized you gotta start giving these people shout outs on the show, right? You can't just say, oh, there's TikToker I like, and you gotta say the person's name. So here we are. There it is. Amanda Nelson. All right, guys. Have a great night. See you.